It's all kicking off. I can't quite believe it, but it is in fact kicking off. Celtic are locked in for this transfer window. It looks as though we're trying to get business done early. You wouldn't believe that. With this football club, you'd thought never in a million years. However, we have a lot of catching up to do this morning. Following the big announcement of Kieran Tierney's arrival back in Glasgow last night, or yesterday afternoon I should say, we have a lot to catch up on today. Celtic reportedly making bids left, right and centre. Let's talk about that. You know what to do already, ladies and gents. Please go down below, hit like and subscribe if you want to keep up to date with all the transfer news this summer. You know where to come. Over here. This is it. 9118 Celtic Transfer Talk. We have a very busy edition this morning and I want to get through it as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So please bear with me because we have so much to talk about. I mean, if you've been under a rock for the last 12 hours or so, you have no idea how much we have to talk about. It's a lot. So let's get into this. Wingers, wingers, and more wingers. That is the point of discussion this afternoon because apparently Celtic are winger daft. 3 separate wingers have been linked with the club over the past 24 hours and reportedly all 3 have been subject to an approach or to a bid of some extent. I can't quite believe that. And you might think, Ryan, that surely some of it's got to be nonsense. Surely there isn't 3 wingers that are ready to come to Celtic. Well, this is the thing. All 3 stories come from very reputable, very credible places. So there is something there. Will Celtic end up signing all 3? That awaits to be seen. We'll get to that at some point in this video. But it has been a busy day or so for Celtic when it comes to wingers. And let's start with Michel-Ange Balikwisha because he is a name we've spoke about umpteen times on this channel. He's somebody who went out this time last week and said, I think he's a guarantee to join Celtic this summer. I took that chance. I put my neck on the line and saying I think he is a guarantee for Celtic this summer from everything that was out there already and from what I'd heard. And it's looking ever more likely that he's a guarantee for Celtic this summer because these were the reports that came out late last night, around 11 PM, 11:30 to be precise. Sasha Tavalieri reported that Celtic are back in the race for Michel-Ange Balikwisha, interested in the Royal Antwerp winger since last summer. The Scottish club's management has reconnected with his camp and begun new discussions regarding personal terms. More news coming soon. So as I record this video at 10:48 AM on Wednesday morning, we still await more news from Sasha Tavalieri on that transfer. However, according to him, personal discussions between the club and the players' representatives have already begun. Celtic have been floating around Balikwisha's name for around a year now. We heard this time last year he could very much be a target or signing for Celtic. That was brought to an abrupt end when he suffered a big injury. His name was linked with Celtic throughout the season. He even spoke about a potential move to Celtic at some point through the 2024-25 campaign, and he's basically came out and said he is on the move. We know that Antwerp need to shift millions of pounds worth of assets to make up some money at the club. Balikwisha will be one of those players, and it's now seeming ever more likely it will be Celtic. Personal terms being discussed between the player's agent and the club. It's looking ever more likely that he will become a Celtic player this summer, and I for one am very excited about that. I'm very happy to hear that that's the case. We haven't had any more information surrounding a transfer fee or any sort of indication as to what his demands are when it comes to wages, etc. But I would say the ball is in Celtic's court with this one. He only has one more year on his Antwerp contract. Antwerp are in desperate need of the money that we've spoke about. There's been very known reports in Belgium that Antwerp need money. And with a year left on his deal, with Antwerp needing that money, I think Celtic could get a potential bargain here. There is, of course, reservations around Balikwisha and his injury record over the past year. He suffered that big injury which kept him out for over half of the season. But when he came back, he was firing on all cylinders. He was brilliant in the split portion of the season in the Belgian top flight. And he looks like a serious baller. He's somebody that I said last week, as I said, I think will be a Celtic player, that I really wanted to be a Celtic player. We're waiting for the further news to come out to follow up on this initial report, but I think that we're going to see Michel-Ange Balikwisha at Celtic this summer. I do caveat that by saying there's always the chance that these deals fall through, that something goes wrong. There's never guarantees in this world, but I think this is as close as you're going to get to one for now. Celtic love reconnecting with an old flame, and Balikwisha isn't the only old flame who we are talking to in this window, apparently, because Sky Sports, and in particular Anthony Joseph, reported late last night that Celtic are back in and reopened talks over a potential deal for Sarpsborg winger Sondre Orjasaeter. It is understood that Celtic face competition from clubs in Germany and the Netherlands for the 21-year-old, but no concrete offers are on the table as things stand. So just to reiterate, Celtic have reopened talks about a deal with the club, with Sarpsborg, but there is no concrete offer tabled by Celtic yet. Now, the history with Orjasaeter is quite straightforward. We went in for him in January. We liked the look of him in January. He wasn't keen on the move. He wanted to stay put because he felt he had the right people around him, that he still had development to be done, and he stayed put at Sarpsborg for that portion of their season. Celtic are back in from now. They still very much see him as a top target when it comes to wingers, and they see a lot of potential with this young man. So he is looking like somebody that the club are desperate to sign as well, alongside Balikwisha. When you have that long-term interest, it usually spells... I don't need to spell it out for you. You know what it means. It's serious interest. It's who the club want. I think this is another one that the club should really make a priority. Once again, I referenced my video I done a few days ago. I tier ranked players that the club were linked with in this summer, and I had him towards the top end of that list. I think this is a player that Celtic should be going all out for. However, the stumbling block might come with the transfer fee that Sky Sports are talking about. So in January, it was reported that Celtic were bidding in the region of £4.5 to £5 million. Sarpsborg believe they deserve more for the player, and Sky Sports are going on to say that it could take as much as £7 million to land Sondre Orjasaeter in this summer window. Now, for a 21-year-old winger, £7 million, quite a lot of money. I think this is the sort of money that we need to spend to land top wingers. But if you're bringing in Balikwisha, you already have Maeda, you already have Kuhn, you have Jota set to return at some point through the season. I think the board and the club will start asking questions. Can we justify £7 million on a winger who might not play as much football as that would indicate? I think that will be the biggest stumbling block when it comes to the Sondre Orjasaeter negotiations. Now, if he's desperate for a move, then that price might come down. Sarpsborg might have to accept defeat in that regard, but I don't think it will drop dramatically. I still think that with the interest that's been reported from countries like Germany, they can easily get something £5-6 million. Will Celtic be the team to spend that though? I think that's the biggest stumbling block. So far this season, in 7 league games, he has 4 goal contributions. Last season, in 28 league games, he chipped in with 12 goal contributions. So he is an active player in the squad at this moment in time, of tremendous value to Sarpsborg as they look for a successful season. I don't think this one will be easy for Celtic, and I would like to see it get done. I'm a big fan of what I've seen of this player. I've seen of this young man, as I've complimented his attitude many a times for challenging himself to stay put at Sarpsborg and develop as a player. So yeah, I would like to see this get done. I just think that Celtic will try and get more value in this deal for themselves, which makes sense if we do have such a huge amount of wingers at the club. And the final winger we have to talk about, and certainly the most interesting of the three, because we've never mentioned him, we've never heard of him, and it's the first he has been linked with the club, is a young Ecuadorian winger, Nelson Angulo, who last night was linked with the club in a shock tweet, one that we weren't expecting to see. Reports from his own country, and journalists in his home country, suggesting that Celtic are the first to make a bid for the highly rated, highly wanted youngster. In fact, this was journalist Cesar Luis Melo of Ecuador reporting that Nelson Angulo could leave Anderlecht. Several clubs have set their sights on him, and the first to make an offer to buy him is Celtic Glasgow. The first proposal, however, was considered insufficient by Anderlecht. So this is a name that we haven't heard before. I've never spoke about him on this channel, as I've mentioned. But one that has caught my eye and presents a very interesting situation. So currently playing with Anderlecht in Belgium, he is an Ecuadorian international. He's been playing over this international break with them, 5 caps now for the national team. Apparently being watched by clubs as big as Liverpool. That's been reported on a few times by Ecuadorian journalists over the past few months. Apparently they have sent scouts to watch him on a number of occasions. And wanted by more than Celtic and Liverpool, by other clubs as well. Celtic have apparently had a first bid rejected by the player. Now, I know what it's like when you see a journalist that you're not familiar with, or a publication you're not familiar with, report stories like this, you kind of want to put it to the side as BS for a moment. You just want to go, it won't be much. But it seems like the journalist is very, very credible, followed by Fabrizio Romano on Twitter, used by the likes of Fabrizio Romano in stories before and other big publications. I don't think this has come from thin air. I think this has come from a place of truth. And if Celtic are evaluating their options in the market when it comes to wingers, then there's no reason why they wouldn't be looking at the likes of a Nelson Angulo. So a very interesting, very surprising story to hear, but one that with more reading I'm very intrigued about. Only 21 years of age and sort of fresh to the Anderlecht first team over the past couple of seasons. I wouldn't say he has as impressive first team stats as the likes of Orjasaeter does or Michel-Ange Balikwisha does, but I think this is somebody who has a very high ceiling. And his transfer value shouldn't be as much as the other two wingers either, but Anderlecht, of course, value him very highly. And if there's reports out there of the likes of Liverpool looking at him, then, they are going to price him at a fair number. So, yeah, this is one to keep an eye on over the next few days. Very pacey, very tricky left winger. Yeah, Celtic want wingers. That's all I can say for today. They want wingers. And these are 3 of the ones that we've been linked with in the space of a day. Now, this raises a big question over the situation. Does this perhaps mean that we should prepare for the departure of either Nicholas Kuhn or Daisen Maeda? Why would we be bidding for 3 separate wingers? And I think that's where a lot of people's reservations will creep up when it comes to the legitimacy of some of these stories. But, Celtic need to be active in this window. They need to be prepared, and we've all been begging for them to get the work done early, and if that means, bidding for 3 of them and only signing 1 of them, if we need to let a couple of them down, that's the ruthless nature of how Celtic need to go about this window. So I'm delighted to hear all of this. I really am, and as I said, all 3 stories coming from a place of credibility. Yeah, I think that we'll hear it more over the next day or two, and I'm very excited to see what comes out in the next day or two. As I said, I think Michel-Ange Balikwisha is a stick-on. I think he will be a Celtic player this summer. But out of the other 2, very interested to see what direction those players go. And final update for today. Celtic's first signing of the window is all but confirmed. Callum Osmand has reportedly completed his Celtic medical. We spoke about him on the channel a couple of nights ago. Celtic have completed a medical for Fulham striker Callum Osmand, and it's understood that the 19-year-old has agreed his terms to join Celtic this summer. Fulham will be due training compensation once the deal is complete. So around a fee of somewhere between the region of £250,000 to £500,000. Celtic will make their first signing of this window. You would assume he comes in as a sort of third choice backup striker, but one I think has a very exciting future ahead of him. So it's good to see Celtic get the business done early, and this is hopefully, as I said, the signing that starts the snowball of Celtic's transfer window. Right, oh my god, we're done. I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of all of these stories today, but I would be here all day if I went so in depth about them all. We will talk about these more as details emerge naturally, so please get down below, hit like and subscribe. We'll be back whenever anything breaks. That could be tonight for all I know, so keep an eye out, get your notifications on. Right, breathe. I'll see you all next time.